Am I the jerk for having my mother-in-law arrested? So I work 2 jobs and it blows because I make more than enough to be comfortable at my first job. I had to get a second job when my wife's family basically lost their home and I had to give in and let them move in. I wouldn't have minded if they would have settled for the guest house, but no, they said it made them feel unwanted. So she asked my wife if we would help her with groceries, and my wife, not wanting to say no, said we would. I was furious because I had told her I had quite a bit to pay this month on top of the food for Easter that I had to foot on top of all the stuff for the kids. It was insane, so I said no and pretty much left it at that. She then tells me her mom is in the car ready to go, so I might as well get right with it at this point because I rather avoid the fight that would come, and honestly I felt guilty. I have the means, so why shouldn't I help? So I said what about $150 for the week, and if she needed more help we would revisit after I pay the bills I needed to pay. I thought she would be upset, but she said okay. They got home and I found out my phone went off notifying me a withdrawal was made a short time before they got home. It was for over $300 and I'm like, what the hell? Her mom said I had said it was okay when it was not true. I blew up because I couldn't spare that money. She has a condition that needs very intensive physical therapy twice a week for 6 months and I'm paying out of pocket for it. Every cent I make is budgeted to the last penny. She needs this therapy because in 6 months if she doesn't respond to it then it's surgery as a last resort. I'm trying so hard to save every extra dollar I can, so if that is the road we have to go down then I want to be able to take off for a few weeks to at least be there for her. This was a setback I couldn't afford and I was livid she would betray us like that. Whenever she needs something I have given it, no matter how much I knew it would hurt me. I had enough and called the cops when they asked if I wanted to press charges. I did, and now my wife is beyond livid that I would do this to her family. She thinks I could have simply spoken to her about it and asked her to pay it back. Now I feel a little guilty, but am I really the jerk for going straight to pressing charges without talking to my wife? I feel she would have talked me out of it. Am I the jerk? Everyone sucks here. Your wife shouldn't ask you to have 2 jobs to support her family. You're in-law for obvious reasons. You, a little bit, the least of them all, for not giving a heads up to your wife first. Anyway, I hope everything gets sorted out for you. It's past time to let your in-laws fend for themselves. OP's response: I really do agree with you. It has been nightmare ever since they moved in. My wife always excuses it with we have the means, so why shouldn't we help? It's asinine she views it this way. All the while I can't spend time with my kids and I'm called a deadbeat behind my back for it by mother-in-law. Not the jerk. You have a wife problem. A big one. You should tell your wife you're quitting your second job and that she can take a second one, or first one, if she wants to pay for her fam. I'm all for helping family, but you know this is going to get worse, and you're asked to make all the efforts alone. Talk to your wife and put your foot down. Or at least find a middle ground if that's what you prefer. Am I the jerk for taking my niece to court over a coat? I, 28 female, have a niece, 16 female. She is my only sister's only child. 2 years ago, I married a very wealthy man, 34 male, and because of the pandemic, last Christmas was my first with my in-laws. My mother-in-law gifted me a coat that is worth more than $20,000. I saw her wearing it, asked her where she bought it, and she said that it will be my Christmas gift from her. I didn't know how much it was. I knew it was expensive, but I thought maybe $3,000 at most. I was visiting my sister last January when my niece saw it. She googled the brand and showed me how much it really was. I won't lie, I didn't wear it after that because I was afraid of ruining it. Last week, I wore it while visiting my sister. While I was putting it back on to leave, I felt something go splat on my back. Then my niece started cackling and the smell of paint hit me. I was so pissed off while she was not apologetic at all. Her mom screamed at her and said she was grounded. Then she said she will pay for the dry cleaning. While I was in my car, still in shock by the way, I got an alert that my niece posted a reel. It was of her doing a prank on me, and she said, I'm going to hit my aunt's $20,000 coat with a paint-filled balloon to see how she reacts. I saved it on my phone, sent it to her mum and told her that a week's grounding is not enough. She did not reply, but I saw that my niece took it down. It got less than 5 views by then. The next day I found out my coat cannot be saved, so I called my sister and told her that her daughter has to pay it back. Well, we got into an argument and she said that they will not be paying it, and if I wanted a new one, I should get my husband to buy it for me. I think that they should pay for it. They can afford to. In my opinion, they should sell my niece's car and pay me back my money. We did not reach an agreement, so I told her that I will be suing, and reminded her that I have video evidence that her daughter A did it on purpose for online clout and B knew exactly how expensive it was. People in my life are not objective at all. I have some calling me a jerk, some saying they are the jerks for not buying me a new one, and some so obsessed with the price of the coat that they are calling me a jerk for simply owning it and wanting a new one. So, am I the jerk? Edit, sorry for not making it clearer, but my coat was bought new, just identical to my mother-in-law's. Not the jerk. This is a really good way for your niece to learn that actions have consequences and hopefully will serve her well in the future, when she's older. And your sister seems to need that lesson too, sounds like. Just have your husband buy you a new one, is not an appropriate reaction to your kid destroying a 20k item. Major update. So here is a quick update, since the situation has been resolved. When my husband got home, I told him what happened and showed him the video. He asked if I spoke with my brother-in-law and I said no, all my conversations were with my sister. He said that he will take care of it. Now, a disclaimer, I understand nothing when it comes to insurance claims, and this is what my husband told me, I understood happened. My husband talked with my brother-in-law, told him exactly what happened and showed him the prank video. Then he told him that the coat was insured. We will be filing a claim and submitting the video, and we might have to file charges for the claim. He assured him that we would be dropping the charges. We do not want to send niece to jail. Then he told him that one of two things might happen. After our insurance pays us, they will come after them. If their insurance pays, their premium will skyrocket. If it doesn't, they might sue them, and might get a lien on their house. My brother-in-law asked if there was a way he could pay us without involving insurance. My husband told him that that was what we wanted at first, but that my sister insisted that they will not be paying us back. Apparently, my brother-in-law was not in the know, and he was very pissed off at what my niece did, and my sister's response. So they came to this solution: my niece's car will be sold, and if it doesn't fetch the whole compensation money, she will have to get a job and pay me the whole check until it is paid off. Also, she is grounded for the rest of the school year. I am thankful for the people who encouraged me to talk with my husband. That's a fair outcome that avoids lifetime level consequences for the niece and still stings hard enough to make the point. Communication is always a good place to start, and very glad your brother-in-law stepped up to handle the situation appropriately. Am I the jerk for telling my sister-in-law she's disrespecting my brother's memory? So my 29 female, older brother Ben, 35 male, passed away 6 months ago. He was married to Veronica, 34 female, for 8 years and together for 3 years prior to being married. They have one child together who is only 7. My sister-in-law recently admitted she is seeing another man. When my family expressed concern and disapproval, she went even further to admit to that she kept it discreet for the first couple months, meaning she was probably seeing the other man as early as 4 months after my brother's passing. My parents are incensed, but I think they went a bit overboard. They seem to think my sister-in-law should wait until her child is grown to date again, which seems ridiculous to me. When they said this to sister-in-law, I did voice my disagreement with that, and told them that was a ridiculous expectation. But also told sister-in-law it still seems too soon to be moving on and that this is hard news for all of us. It just feels disrespectful to my brother when he's barely cold and in the ground. She left and is ignoring my texts. Am I the jerk? Edit. Brother was in an accident and died 5 days later. Her new guy is the son of longtime friends of her family. He was friends of my brother and self throughout their marriage. I've met him in passing 2 or 3 times over the years at events at my brother's house. My parents have never met him. He lost his wife to cancer 2.5 years ago. You're the jerk. Everyone grieves in their own way. She doesn't owe anyone her life. She can do as she pleases. It sucks that your brother died, but he is gone and she's still here. She doesn't have to live her life by anyone else's expectations or judgment. Also, I am sorry for your loss. You're allowed to have feelings about it, but it's not necessary to express every thought in your head. You do not get to control her timeline of grief, any more than she gets to control yours. The next text you send needs to be your apology. I don't like to say you're the jerk, because grief makes people behave in all kinds of ways, and I don't think what you said makes you a bad person at all. Just a bad mix of timing and words. I'm so sorry for your loss. Am I the jerk for ruining my nephew's birthday party? I, 26F, am the youngest of 5 children and have a close-knit family, but do have a rocky relationship with my sister-in-law. She and my brother have 4 kids together and she definitely wears the pants in the relationship. My nephews, they are twins, are turning 9 and my sister-in-law wants to have a family birthday party for them. My family lives relatively close to one another, 30 minutes or so, with the exception of my brother and sister-in-law, who live about 2 hours away from all of us. My sister-in-law is planning to have the birthday party at her home with just my family, her parents, they live near her, and her sister's family, equal distance between our family and my brother, sister-in-law. After speaking with my mum, I called my sister-in-law and asked if we could relocate the party to my parents' house. I am 37 weeks pregnant, will be closer to 39 weeks at the time of the party, and would feel more comfortable closer to home. 2 hours in the car at 39 weeks pregnant is a lot, not to mention feeling nervous about the posse brother-in-law idea of going into labor. I told my sister-in-law that my mum, and myself to the best I can plan, pay for everything for the party since they would have to make the trip to us. My mum had agreed to this. She could still plan and do whatever she wanted, but the thought was to compromise and take some of the pressure off of her in return of her relocating so I could be there. My sister-in-law refuses. She said that it is her kids, her party, and must be done at her house. She said it was selfish and disrespectful of me to even ask. She said that it takes the boys out of their environment. Their older girls, 12 and 14, would not be able to hang out with friends after the party, and now her parents would have to make the trip too. I tried to reason with her but she wasn't having it. She said I was ruining my nephew's party by causing this tension and if I didn't want to come I didn't have to. She accused me of using my pregnancy as an excuse to gain control. As it stands now, the party is at her house and my husband and I will not be going. I am just not comfortable being that far from home so close to giving birth, and clearly she didn't want to take me up on my offer to make the party easier for her and have all of our family together. She is mad at my mum for not telling me that I was being ridiculous. My parents are still going to the party, as they should, but I'm sure my sister-in-law will make it known that she is upset with my mum. Am I the jerk for asking my sister to relocate my nephew's birthday so I could attend? Edit. I understand all of the "you're the jerk" comments and am not trying to combat them. I did see some questions on how pushy I was. I think when initially writing the post and saying I tried to reason with her came off as pushy. I just meant that I explained why I was asking. I respect her choice not to move it and understand why. Just to clarify, none of my nephew's friends will be at the party. They had a separate friend party planned. I think the background here is also that we have a rocky relationship, not because I'm entitled but because she is always trying to alienate my brother from his family. She has a rocky relationship with all of my siblings as well as my parents. I don't expect this to change that I'm the jerk here, but I see a lot of questions in the comments. You're the jerk. When you're invited to a party, your options are to accept or decline the invitation. You don't get to take over redefine someone else's party for your convenience. You're the jerk. It's her children's birthday and you expect her to travel 2 hours for the party? If you can't make it, just say that. I can't imagine why you and sister-in-law have tension. Am I the jerk for lying to my wife about the length of my work trip to avoid a vacation with the in-laws? My 34 male wife, 31 female, and her family, my in-laws, had a 5-day-long family vacation in July. It was at an Airbnb that everyone, wife, her siblings and their spouses, and her parents, stayed in. I happened to have a work trip the same week as the vacation, but it was only 2 days long so I technically could have gone to the last few days of the vacation. Here's the thing about my wife's family, they're very rowdy. They yell to communicate, get drunk together often, have no respect for each other's privacy, and ask very invasive questions. For example, on our wedding day my father-in-law asked me if I had been practicing my moves for the wedding night and if I needed any advice. I was appalled. I have told my wife before that sometimes her family can be too rowdy for me, but she gets defensive and says I should accept her family for who they are. There have been times when I've asked my wife if I can skip family reunions and birthday parties, but she gets very mad at me and says it would be super rude to avoid her family. So when I found out that my out-of-state work trip was the same week as the family vacation, I decided to fib to my wife a bit. I told my wife that my work trip was 4 days long and that it wouldn't make sense for me to travel to the Airbnb to stay for only 1 day. My wife agreed to this. So, I went on the work trip and enjoyed a few days of peace and quiet at our house while my wife enjoyed the vacation with her family. A few weeks go by and I'm having some co-workers over for drinks. My wife came home from work early and started chatting with my co-workers. She told them about the wonderful vacation she had with her family a few weeks ago and my co-workers asked me why I didn't join. I told them that the vacation was during our work trip. My coworkers said our work trip was only 2 days long. Why didn't I catch the end of the family vacation? The look on my wife's face was murderous. After my coworkers left, my wife started yelling at me saying I was a major jerk. She called her parents and they sent me angry messages saying they couldn't believe I lied to my wife to avoid a vacation with them. Am I the jerk for lying to my wife about the length of my work trip even though I know she wouldn't allow me to skip the family vacation? Yes, you're the jerk. But really, everyone sucks here. Don't lie to your wife, especially when it comes to your whereabouts. That leads to the kinds of suspicions that can destroy the trust in a relationship. Only exception is going gift shopping for her. She's a jerk for ignoring the fact that you don't want to hang out with her family. Next time though, instead of asking for permission to skip the family get-together, act like an adult and make your own decision. I'll hang out with your family for 2 days, and then I'm leaving. Or, yes, we can go there, but we're getting our own hotel room and I will not be spending every hour with them. Will that lead to an argument with her? Maybe, but that's better than lying.